The Epsilon sector had become a place of death. For 3 long years, 2 powerful alien races fought each other with weapons that could destroy entire planets. The Zephyrian Empire and the Calthac Confederation both wanted control of this part of space. Their warships were huge, some as big as cities. Their weapons could tear apart the very atoms that made up matter. Ambassador Dex-9 stood on the bridge of his diplomatic ship, looking out at the stars. He was tall and thin, with blue skin that glowed softly in the dark. His people, the Vortani, had always tried to keep peace in the galaxy. But this war was too big, too dangerous. It was spreading to other star systems. Soon, innocent worlds would be caught in the fighting. Dex-9 had tried everything. He had spoken to the leaders of both warring races. The Zephyrians were proud and would not back down. Their leader, High Commander Vexthela, believed his people were the rightful rulers of the galaxy. The Calthac were just as stubborn. Their war council thought only the strongest should survive. Both races had technology that most species could only dream of. Their energy shields could protect them from the heat of a star. Their weapons could phase through different dimensions to hit targets. When they fought, space itself seemed to bend and twist around their battles. The ambassador's ship moved slowly through space toward a small blue planet. Earth was the home of humans, a young species that most aliens thought was not very smart. Humans had only been traveling between stars for about 50 years. Their ships used simple chemical rockets. Their weapons were basic metal projectiles and explosive devices. Most alien races laughed at human technology. While others used pure energy to power their ships, humans still burned fuel. While others had weapons that could change matter at the molecular level, humans shot pieces of metal at each other. The Galactic Council had given humans a small voice in galaxy politics, but only because they felt sorry for them. Dex-9 did not want to ask humans for help with the war. What could they do? But he was running out of options. The war was getting worse every day. Soon, the fighting would reach the trade routes that connected hundreds of worlds. Millions of innocent people would die. His ship entered orbit around Earth and requested permission to land. The humans quickly agreed and guided him to a space station near their moon. Dex-9 had never been to human space before. He was surprised by how busy it was. Hundreds of human ships moved between planets, carrying goods and people. The human ships looked crude compared to alien vessels. They were made of simple metal and had no elegant curves or smooth surfaces. But they seemed to work well enough. Dex-9 noticed that there were many military ships among the civilian ones. For a young species, humans seemed to have a lot of warships. A shuttle took him down to Earth, to a place called New Geneva. The building where he would meet human leaders was simple but clean. He walked through corridors filled with humans going about their business. They all looked so similar to each other, with their small eyes and strange hair. But they seemed organized and purposeful. Director Sarah Chen met him in a conference room. She was a middle-aged human woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. With her were several other humans in military uniforms. Dex-9 was confused. He had come to ask for help with refugees, not military advice. Ambassador Dex-9, Director Chen said, standing to greet him. We know why you're here. The war between the Zephyrians and the Calthac has gotten out of control. Dex-9 was surprised. How did humans know so much about the war? Most young species paid little attention to galactic politics. Yes, he said carefully. The fighting has spread beyond the original battle zones. Soon, innocent worlds will be caught in the middle. My people hope that humans might provide safe passage for refugees. Perhaps some humanitarian aid. Director Chen looked at the military officers around the table. They all had the same calm expression. It was not what Dex-9 expected from a primitive species asking to help with a problem. too big for advanced civilizations to solve. "We've been watching the situation," Chun said. "Our intelligence services have been monitoring both fleets. We know their positions, their capabilities, their tactics." Dex-9 felt a chill run through his body. Humans had been spying on the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. How was that possible? "The Zephyrians and Calthek are both strong," Chun continued. "But they're going to destroy each other and take half the galaxy with them. That's not acceptable." The ambassador stared at her. "Director Chun, I appreciate your concern, but this is beyond any help your people could provide. These are the most advanced military forces in known space. Their technology is centuries ahead of yours." Chun smiled, and Dex-9 did not like the look in her eyes. It reminded him of a predator that had found easy prey. "Ambassador," she said quietly, "we're aware of the situation. We'll handle it." Dex-9 could not believe what he was hearing. This human was talking as if her people could stop a war that had defeated the combined efforts of dozens of advanced civilizations. "Handle it?" he asked. "Director, no disrespect intended, but human technology is not advanced enough to affect this conflict. Your ships, your weapons, they're not even close to what the Zephyrians and Calthek possess." One of the military officers, a man with scars on his face, leaned forward. "Ambassador, you'd be surprised what humans can do when we put our minds to it." Chun stood up, ending the meeting. "We'll be in touch soon. Please prepare your refugee ships. This war will be over within the week." As Dex-9 left the building, his mind raced. What did humans think they could do? Their confidence seemed insane. But there had been something in their eyes. Something that made him wonder if these primitive beings knew something the rest of the galaxy did not. He returned to his ship and sent a message to the Galactic Mediation Council. He told them about his meeting with the humans. Most of his colleagues thought he was joking when he described what Director Chun had said. Some thought the humans had lost their minds. But deep in space, human military ships were already moving toward the Warzone. Admiral Marcus Rivera stood in the command center of the human flagship Indomitable. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, their faces lit by the glow of computer screens. The ship was not beautiful like alien vessels. It was built for war, with thick armor and powerful engines. Every surface was covered with weapons. Rivera was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had fought in 3 different wars and had never lost a battle. Today would be his biggest test. Around him, the command staff waited for his orders. "Dr. Vasquez," he called to a woman sitting at a large table covered with star charts. "Show them what we know." Dr. Elena Vasquez was the head of human military intelligence. She was small and thin, but her mind was sharp like a blade. For months, she had studied every detail of the alien war. She knew things about the Zephyrians and Calthek that they did not know about themselves. "The enemy fleets are positioned here," she said, pointing to a spot on the star map. Red and blue dots showed the locations of hundreds of alien ships. Both sides have about 300 vessels each. Their technology is impressive, but it has weaknesses. The officers gathered around the table. Rivera nodded for her to continue. "The Zephyrians use energy weapons that can destroy matter at the atomic level," Vasquez explained. "Their shields can deflect radiation from a star. But both their weapons and shields work by manipulating energy patterns." She touched her computer, and new information appeared on the map. The Calthek have similar technology, but they focus on dimensional phasing. Their weapons can exist in multiple dimensions at once. Their ships can briefly disappear from normal space to avoid attacks. One of the younger officers raised his hand. "Mom, if their technology is so advanced, how can we fight them?" Vasquez smiled. "Because they've only fought each other in species with similar technology. They've never faced kinetic weapons moving at high speed." She brought up images of alien battles from the past 3 years. The officers watched as huge ships fired beams of energy at each other. Shields flared with bright colors as they deflected attacks. Ships phased in and out of reality. "Watch their tactics," Vasquez said. "They always form the same patterns." Their ships spread out to avoid energy weapon splash damage. They positioned their strongest vessels in the center because energy weapons lose power over distance. Rivera stepped forward. "What Dr. Vasquez is telling you is that these aliens fight like they expect everyone else to fight. They've never seen human tactics." The Admiral activated another screen that showed the human fleet. 50 ships moved through space in a tight formation. Compared to alien vessels, they looked small and simple. But Rivera knew better. "Every ship in our fleet carries 10,000 tungsten rods," he said. "Each rod weighs 50 kilograms. When we accelerate them to 30% of light speed, they carry more destructive force than most alien weapons." The officers nodded. Human railgun technology was simple but effective. Instead of trying to manipulate energy like aliens did, humans just threw heavy objects very, very fast. "Our nuclear missiles are completely invisible to their sensors," Rivera continued. "They scan for energy signatures and exotic particles. They can't detect simple chemical explosives." Captain Torres, Rivera's second in command, pulled up tactical data. "Sir, what about their shields?" "Intelligence reports say they can deflect star radiation." "Energy radiation," Vasquez corrected. "They're designed to stop energy attacks. A chunk of tungsten moving at relativistic speed is just matter. Their shields might slow it down, but they won't stop it." Rivera walked to the large window that looked out into space. In the distance, he could see other human ships. They looked peaceful, almost gentle. But each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. "There's something else," he said, turning back to his officers. "Both alien fleets are commanded by leaders who think they're the best warriors in the galaxy. They're proud. They want to face their enemies in direct combat." He activated a recording of communications between the alien fleets. Even through translation, the officers could hear the anger and hatred in the voices of the alien commanders. "They want a big, dramatic final battle," Rivera said. "They want to prove once and for all who is stronger." That kind of thinking makes them predictable. Dr. Vasquez brought up the final piece of their intelligence. Both fleets will position themselves in the Kepler Nebula for their last battle. The nebula will interfere with their sensors and communications. They think this gives them tactical advantage. Rivera smiled. "What they don't know is that we've been using unmanned drones to map every centimeter of that nebula. We know exactly where they'll be and when." The Admiral looked around the room at his officers. These were the best military minds humanity had produced. They came from different countries and cultures, but they all understood war. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years," he said. "We've learned things about warfare that peaceful species never discovered. We know how to use surprise, deception, and overwhelming force." He activated one final screen that showed the human battle plan. The officers studied it carefully. It was simple but brilliant. "We will position ourselves above and below the alien fleets," Rivera explained. "The nebula will hide our approach. When they begin their battle, they'll be focused on each other. That's when we strike." Captain Torres looked concerned. "Admiral, what if they detect us?" "Then we adapt," Rivera said simply. "That's what humans do. We improvise. We overcome." Dr. Vasquez gathered her papers. "Sir, both alien fleets believe humans are too primitive to be a threat. They might scan us, but they'll dismiss us as scavengers or refugees." Rivera nodded. "Their arrogance is their weakness. They can't imagine that a species they consider inferior could threaten them." The Admiral walked back to the command center. Around him, his officers prepared for battle. They checked weapon systems, reviewed targeting data, and coordinated with other ships in the fleet. "One more thing," Rivera announced. "When we attack to end the war, not to start a new one. We destroy their ability to fight, but we also offer them a way to survive. Humans fight to win, but we also know when to stop." The officers understood. This was not about conquest or revenge. This was about stopping a war before it destroyed innocent lives. As the human fleet moved deeper into space, Rivera felt confident. The aliens had better technology, but humans had something more important. They had experience, tactics, and the will to do what needed to be done. The war was about to end, whether the aliens wanted it to or not. The Kepler Nebula was beautiful and deadly. Clouds of gas and dust glowed with soft colors, hiding dangerous radiation and electromagnetic storms. It was the perfect place for the final battle between two ancient enemies. Commander Zixtar stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Glory. She was tall and elegant, with silver skin that seemed to glow in the dim light. Her people, the Zephyrians, believed they were the most advanced race in the galaxy. For 1,000 years, they had ruled dozens of star systems with their superior technology and military might, but the Calthak had challenged them, and now both empires teetered on the edge of destruction. Today would decide which race would survive to control this part of the galaxy. "Status report," Zixthara commanded. Her voice was cold and precise. "All battle groups are in position," her tactical officer replied. 300 ships ready for combat. Energy weapons charged. Dimensional shields at maximum power. Through the main view screen, Zixthara could see the massive bulk of other Zephyrian warships. Each vessel was a work of art, with smooth curves and elegant lines. But beneath the beauty lay devastating weapons that could tear apart planets. The Zephyrian fleet had arranged itself in a classic energy warfare formation. Heavy battleships formed the center, their weapons designed to punch through enemy shields at long range. Smaller, faster ships spread out on the flanks, ready to sweep around enemy positions. Support vessels stayed in the rear, providing power and repair services. On the other side of the nebula, war leader Molthan prepared his own fleet. The Calthek ships were different from Zephyrian vessels. Where Zephyrian ships were elegant, Calthek ships were brutal and functional. They looked like weapons themselves. Covered in spikes and armor plates, Mole then was a giant among his people, standing over 2 meters tall with thick gray skin covered in ritual scars. Each scar represented a victory in battle. Today, he would earn the greatest scar of all by destroying the Zephyrian Empire forever. Zephyrian Empire forever. Final count, he growled to his bridge. Crew, 297 ships. Operational, his weapons master reported. Phase cannons ready, dimensional armor at full strength. The Calthek formation was more aggressive than the Zephyrian arrangement. Their heavy ships pushed forward, ready to close distance quickly. Calthek tactics relied on overwhelming force applied at close range. They would phase through normal space to avoid enemy fire, then appear right next to Zephyrian ships to deliver devastating attacks. Both commanders were confident. Each believed their technology and tactics were superior. Neither paid much attention to the small group of ships that had appeared at the edge of the battle zone. The human fleet looked pitiful compared to the alien armadas. 50 ships, each no bigger than a Zephyrian escort vessel. Their hulls were simple metal, with no elegant curves or advanced materials. To alien eyes, they looked like primitive cargo haulers. Admiral Rivera watched both alien fleets from the bridge of the Indomitable. His ship was hidden in a cloud of dust and gas, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible. Around him, his officers worked quietly at their stations. "Alien communications?" he asked, Both fleets are exchanging the usual threats and challenges, Lieutenant Park reported. The Zephyrians think the Calthek are savage barbarians. The Calthek think the Zephyrians are weak cowards. Rivera nodded. Pride and hatred would make both fleets predictable. They wanted to hurt each other, not think clearly about tactics. Dr. Vasquez, what about our positioning? The intelligence officer checked her instruments. All ships are in position. The nebula is hiding our approach perfectly. Both alien fleets think we're just refugee ships staying out of the way. Rivera smiled. Human ships were sending out standard refugee signals, broadcasting requests for safe passage in simple, broken alien language. To the proud alien commanders, the humans looked like frightened primitives trying to avoid getting caught in a real war. Commander Zixthara glanced at her sensor readings and noticed the human ships. A tactical officer had marked them as civilian refugees and given them a low priority rating. Should we order them to leave the area? The tactical officer asked. Zixthara waved a dismissive hand. Let them watch. After we destroy the Calthek, these primitives can spread word of Zephyrian power throughout the galaxy. Similar thoughts went through War Leader Moulton's mind when his sensors detected the humans. His crew barely gave them a second look. What could such a young, weak species do in a battle between galactic superpowers? But the humans were not refugees, and they were not afraid. Hidden throughout the nebula, human stealth drones recorded every detail of both alien fleets. Advanced computers calculated the exact position of every ship, the strength of every shield, the firing pattern of every weapon. Captain Torres stood next to Admiral Rivera, watching the tactical display. Red dots showed Zephyrian positions. Blue dots marked Calthek ships. Green dots represented human vessels, positioned above and below the main battle area. Their formations are exactly what Dr. Vasquez predicted, Torres observed. Both sides are setting up for traditional energy weapon combat. Rivera nodded. They're thinking in 2 dimensions, like most spacefaring races. Humans learned to think in 3 dimensions because we evolved on a planet. We understand that enemies can attack from above and below. The alien fleets continued their preparations. Zephyrian ships charged their energy weapons, creating a soft glow around their hulls. Calthek vessels tested their phasing systems, briefly disappearing and reappearing as they moved into position. Both commanders sent final messages to their fleets. Zixthara spoke of honor and the destiny of the Zephyrian people. Moulton roared about strength and the survival of the fittest. Neither mentioned the humans watching from the edges of the battle zone. How long until they engage? Rivera asked. Approximately 30 minutes, Dr. Vasquez replied. Both fleets are almost in optimal firing position. Rivera activated the fleet communication system. Across space, the captains of 50 human ships listened to his words. All ships, this is Admiral Rivera. In 30 minutes, 2 alien fleets will begin a battle that could destroy half the galaxy. They believe they are fighting each other. They believe they are the only real powers in this sector of space. They are wrong. He paused, looking out at the beautiful, deadly nebula. We are going to end this war today. Not because we want to conquer anyone, but because someone needs to stop the killing. These aliens have better technology than us, but they've never fought humans before. They don't understand what humans are capable of when we decide something needs to be done. In the distance, alien ships moved into their final positions. Energy weapons hummed with power. Dimensional drives prepared to phase ships through space. Both alien commanders believed they were about to win the greatest victory in their species' history. They had no idea that human ships were silently closing in from above and below, carrying weapons designed to end the war in minutes instead of hours. The calm before the storm was ending. Soon, the galaxy would learn what happened when humanity decided to take action. The first shots of the final battle lit up the Kepler Nebula like a newborn star. Commander Zixthara watched as her fleet's energy weapons reached out across space, seeking Calthic targets. Beams of pure force, hot enough to melt planets, struck enemy shields in brilliant flashes of light. War Leader Molten roared orders as his ships returned fire. Calthac phase cannons created tears in space itself, reaching through dimensions to strike at Zephorian hulls. When the weapons hit, matter simply ceased to exist, leaving perfectly round holes in enemy armor. Both fleets had fought this way for 3 years. Energy against energy, shield against shield, advanced technology pushed to its limits. The battle followed patterns both commanders knew by heart. Ships would circle each other, trading devastating blows until one side's shields failed. The Zephorian battleship, Starfire, took a direct hit from 3 Calthic phase cannons. Its shields flared white-hot but held. The ship's captain immediately ordered return fire, and twin energy beams lashed out to destroy a Calthic destroyer. Across the battle zone, similar exchanges played out hundreds of times. Ships appeared and disappeared as they phased through dimensions. Energy shields created walls of light between the fleets. The space between them filled with deadly radiation that would kill any unprotected life form instantly. Commander Zixthara felt satisfaction as she watched the battle develop. Her fleet was performing exactly as planned. The Calthic were strong, but Zephorian technology was superior. In a few hours, she would claim total victory. War Leader Molten had similar thoughts. His ships were taking damage, but they were also giving it. Calthac warriors were the finest in the galaxy. They would grind down the elegant Zephorians through sheer determination and superior fighting spirit. Neither commander paid attention to the small group of human ships at the edge of the battle. The primitives had moved closer, probably hoping to salvage valuable materials after the battle ended. Some alien officers had suggested driving them away, but their commanders were too focused on real enemies to worry about scavengers. Admiral Rivera watched the alien battle from his command center, his face calm and focused. Around him, human officers tracked every shot, every movement, every tactical decision. The aliens were doing exactly what human intelligence had predicted. Both fleets are now fully engaged, Dr. Vasquez reported. Their formations are locked in traditional energy weapon patterns. All command ships have been identified and targeted. Rivera nodded. The aliens were so focused on each other that they had forgotten about everything else. It was time to remind them that humans existed. All ships, he announced over the fleet communication system. Execute Battle Plan Alpha. Target priority is command and control, then weapons platforms, then propulsion systems. Remember, we're here to end this war, not start a new one. The response was immediate. Across the human fleet, 50 ships turned their weapons toward the alien battle. Railguns that had been hidden behind simple metal plates extended from their hulls. Missile tubes that looked like cargo containers opened to reveal their true purpose. The Indomitable fired first. A tungsten rod, accelerated to 30% of light speed, crossed the distance to the Zephorian flagship Eternal Glory in less than 2 seconds. The rod was only the size of a telephone pole, but it carried more kinetic energy than most alien weapons. Commander Zixthara had just enough time to see something impossible on her sensors before the rod hit her ship. The projectile punched through her shields as if they were not there. Zephorian shields were designed to deflect energy, not solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The rod tore through the Eternal Glory from bow to stern, destroying the main computer core, the primary weapon systems, and half the life support equipment. The ship did not explode like it would from an energy weapon hit. Instead, it simply stopped working. Zixthara found herself thrown to the deck as her flagship went dark around her. Emergency lights flickered on, but most of her crew were dead or unconscious. Through the smoke and sparks, She could hear damage reports from the few systems still working. Shields down. Main weapons offline. Life support failing. She struggled to her feet, her mind unable to understand what had happened. Her ship had been designed to fight the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. What could possibly have penetrated her shield so easily? War Leader Molten was asking himself the same question as tungsten rods smashed into his fleet. The Calthac battleship Iron Fang took 3 hits in rapid succession. Each rod punched clean through the ship's dimensional armor, creating massive holes that vented atmosphere and crew into space. Molten's tactical officer stared at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, we're detecting kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds." "But that's impossible. No one uses kinetic weapons anymore." Before Molten could respond, the second wave of human attacks began. Nuclear missiles, invisible to alien sensors designed to detect energy signatures, reached their targets. The warheads were simple fusion bombs, ancient technology by galactic standards. But they worked perfectly. The missiles passed through alien shields and detonated inside the ship's hulls. Nuclear fire consumed everything within hundreds of meters. Ships that had survived energy weapon attacks for years were gutted by primitive explosives. Admiral Rivara watched the tactical display as both alien fleets reeled under the human assault. Red and blue dots that represented alien ships were going dark across the board. In less than 5 minutes, the most powerful military forces in the galaxy had been reduced to scattered, crippled vessels. "Target the weapons platforms next," Rivara ordered. "Let them keep life support and communications. I want survivors who can tell their leaders what happened here." The human attack was precise and methodical. Each ship knew exactly what to hit and when. Years of studying alien technology had revealed every weakness, every vulnerability. Human weapons, primitive by alien standards, exploited gaps in defenses that no one had thought to protect. Captain Torres watched a Zephyrian cruiser lose all its weapons to a single tungsten rod. "Admiral, their shields are designed for energy attacks. They're almost useless against kinetic weapons. And their sensors can't track our missiles," Dr. Vasquez added. "They're scanning for exotic particles and energy signatures. Simple chemical explosives are invisible to them." Rivera nodded. "It's like bringing a sword to a gunfight, except we're the ones with the guns." The alien commanders tried desperately to adapt. Commander Zixthara, working from an emergency command center on her crippled flagship, ordered her surviving ships to target the human fleet. But Zephyrian energy weapons had been designed to fight at long range. The human ships were too close, moving too fast, and using the alien fleets as cover. War Leader Molten attempted to use his ships' phasing ability to escape the human attack. But human targeting computers had been tracking alien movements for months. They knew exactly when and where Calthac ships would reappear. Tungsten rods were waiting for them. The battle that was supposed to last hours was ending in minutes. Both alien fleets, proud armadas that had dominated the galaxy for centuries, were being systematically destroyed by weapons they considered obsolete. Admiral Rivara opened a communication channel to both alien fleets. His message was broadcast on all frequencies, reaching every surviving ship. "This is Admiral Rivara of the Human Defense Fleet. Your war ends now. Any ship that continues to fight will be destroyed. Any ship that surrenders will be given medical assistance and safe passage home." The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time in 3 years, no energy weapons fired in the Kepler Nebula. Both alien fleets were too damaged to fight and too shocked to respond in 17 minutes. Humanity had done what the galactic community thought was impossible. They had ended the war between 2 galactic superpowers, using weapons that everyone considered primitive. The age of human dominance had begun, though the aliens did not know it yet. The aftermath of the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. In the Kepler Nebula, the wreckage of two mighty fleets floated in the darkness. Ships that had ruled star systems for centuries were now twisted metal, their crews dead or wounded. The silence was broken only by emergency signals from the few vessels still capable of communication. Ambassador Dex-9 watched from his diplomatic ship, positioned at a safe distance from the battle zone. His instruments had recorded everything, but his mind still struggled to accept what he had witnessed. In 17 minutes, the humans had accomplished what the combined efforts of dozens of advanced civilizations could not do in 3 years. Admiral Rivera's voice came over the communication systems, calm and professional. This is the human defense fleet to all surviving vessels. Medical assistance is being provided to anyone who needs it. Weapon systems will remain powered down. Any attempt to resume hostilities will result in immediate response. Human ships move through the debris field like shepherds tending their flock. Medical teams in small shuttles docked with damaged alien vessels, providing aid without asking questions about species or allegiance. It was not conquest or revenge. It was simple humanity. Commander Zixthara sat in the ruins of her command center, her silver skin pale with shock. Half her crew was dead, her ship was crippled beyond repair, and her empire's greatest fleet had been destroyed by primitives using metal bullets. Around her, Zephyrian officers tended to the wounded and tried to make sense of their instruments. How? Was all she could whisper. How did they do this? Her tactical officer, his face burned by electrical fires, looked up from a damaged console. Commander, our shields were designed to stop energy weapons. These kinetic projectiles, we never considered them a threat. Our sensors couldn't even track their missiles properly. War Leader Molthan was in similar condition aboard his flagship. The Iron Fang was listing badly, its hull punctured in dozens of places. Kalthak warriors, the fiercest fighters in the galaxy, sat in stunned silence as human medical teams worked to save their lives. Molthan himself had taken shrapnel from the nuclear explosions that had gutted his ship. As a human medic treated his wounds, he stared at the small, soft creature in amazement. "You are the enemy," he growled, though without much force behind it. The medic, a young woman named Sarah, looked up from her work. "No, sir, we're not your enemy. We're just people trying to stop a war." The simple honesty in her voice broke something inside the Kalthak leader. For 3 years, he had thought only of victory and destruction. The idea that someone might fight simply to stop fighting was beyond his understanding. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Ambassador Dex-9 sent his report to the Galactic Council, but even he had trouble finding the right words. How do you explain that humanity, the young species everyone had dismissed, had just become the most powerful military force in known space? On Earth, Director Sarah Chun stood before a hastily assembled group of world leaders. The conference room was filled with presidents, prime ministers, and military commanders from every human nation. All of them were asking the same question: what happens now? "The galaxy knows what we're capable of," Chun said quietly. "Every intelligence service, every military leader, every politician is trying to figure out what humanity wants." General Harrison, the head of Earth's combined military forces, leaned forward. "What do we want, Sarah? We just proved we could conquer half the galaxy if we chose to." Chun looked out the window at the peaceful blue sky above Geneva. "We want what we've always wanted: peace, prosperity, and the right to live our lives without interference. The difference is that now, people will listen when we say it." The Galactic Council called an emergency session 3 days after the battle. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss the new reality. For the first time in galactic history, humanity was invited to address the full council. Chun walked into the great chamber. A simple human woman surrounded by beings that could manipulate matter with their thoughts or survive in the vacuum of space. But every alien eye was fixed on her with a mixture of fear and respect. The Vortani speaker, Ambassador Dex9 Superior, stood at the central podium. His blue skin seemed dimmer than usual, and his voice shook slightly as he spoke. The events in the Kepler Nebula have changed the balance of power in this galaxy. We must address what this means for all of us. Chun took her place at the podium, looking out at hundreds of alien faces. Some were hostile, some were curious, and many were simply afraid. She understood their feelings. Overnight, their assumptions about human capabilities had been shattered. Members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. 3 days ago, humanity ended a war that threatened innocent lives across dozens of star systems. We did not act out of ambition or desire for conquest. We acted because someone needed to stop the killing. Murmurs ran through the assembly. The representative from the Altarian Collective, a species known for their advanced physics, raised a tentacle. Director Chun, how is it possible that your primitive technology defeated the most advanced fleets in the galaxy? Chun smiled sadly. Because you thought our technology was primitive. You measured advancement by complexity and energy output. But sometimes, simple solutions work better than complex ones. She activated a holographic display showing the battle from multiple angles. The aliens watched in fascination as tungsten. Our ODs punched through energy shields and nuclear. Missiles passed undetected through defensive networks. Your shields were designed to stop energy weapons, because that's what your enemies used, Chen explained. Your sensors looked for exotic particles, because that's what your weapons produced. You prepared to fight yourselves, not us. The Zephyrian delegate, a replacement for the injured Commander Zixthara, stood up with obvious difficulty. What do humans want from us? What are your terms for our surrender? Chun looked at him with genuine surprise. Surrender? We're not here to accept surrenders or dictate terms. We're here to make sure this kind of war doesn't happen again. She turned to address the full council. Humanity proposes the creation of a galactic peace enforcement force. When diplomacy fails and innocent lives are threatened, this force will intervene. Not to conquer or control, but to stop conflicts before they destroy civilizations. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species protested that this would limit their sovereignty. Others worried about human dominance. But many, especially the smaller and weaker species, saw it as protection from the kind of war they had just witnessed. Over the following weeks, the proposal was debated, modified, and refined. In the end, it was approved by a wide margin. The galaxy was tired of watching powerful species tear each other apart while the innocent suffered. Admiral Rivera was appointed as the first commander of the Peace Enforcement Force. His flag would fly over ships from dozens of species. But human tactical doctrine and human weapons would form the core of the fleet. The Zephyrian Empire and Calthok Confederation signed a peace treaty that divided their disputed territories fairly. Both species began to rebuild their shattered fleets. But with a new understanding of their place in the galaxy, Commander Zixthara, recovering from her injuries on a human medical station, found herself in an unusual position. She was technically a prisoner of war, but her captors treated her as an honored guest. Human doctors had saved her life. Human engineers were helping repair her ship. And human diplomats were working to find a peaceful solution to her empire's problems. I don't understand your people, she said to Dr. Vasquez during one of their conversations. You have the power to rule the galaxy. Why do you choose not to? Dr. Vasquez looked up from her reports on alien technology. Because ruling the galaxy sounds like a lot of work. We'd rather just make sure everyone gets along. War leader Molthan had similar conversations with Admiral Rivera. The Kalthok warrior was struggling to understand a species that could defeat anyone, but chose to help everyone instead. In our culture, Molten explained, the strong rule the weak. It is the natural order. Rivera shook his head. In our culture, the strong protect the weak. We learned a long time ago that helping others makes us stronger in the long run. As the months passed, the galaxy settled into a new pattern. Trade routes reopened as the threat of war diminished. Species that had been enemies for centuries began to talk to each other. The human fleet, small but deadly, patrolled the space lanes and kept the peace. Humanity had not sought to become the galaxy's police force, but they had accepted the responsibility when it was thrust upon them. They used their newfound power carefully, intervening only when absolutely necessary and always working toward peaceful solutions. The galaxy was learning that humans were not conquerors or tyrants. They were simply people who believed that everyone deserved to live in peace. It was a lesson that would shape interspecies relations for centuries to come. And in the depths of space, human ships continued their quiet patrols, ready to remind anyone who forgot that sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when and how to use it.